funny thing about it, Dad. No.
Someone else tell me who I am.
Anyway, I'm normal. Yay!
I'm a reluctant Gryffindor. There we go.
Hi there. Welcome to the Reading Queens podcast. We have an unscripted, unfiltered, and ranty episode for you. Hope you're excited because we're excited. We're here to talk about a fun subject. But first, I'm Valia. Hi.
I'm Abby. Hello.
I'm Alison.
I'm Joanna.
Yes, and we have a fun crew here today talking about Harry Potter.
Woo!
Bum, 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 bum.
I mean, you guys figured we were going to get here, right? Like, we had to talk about it eventually.
So, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way you can't.
And now it's the perfect time, too, because the special came out, so we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about books, we'll talk about everything to do with Harry Potter in a short amount of time. But first I want to hear how you guys are doing. How's life? How's everything? Have we been on a podcast together before, like the four of us?
I don't know.
I don't know if I've been on with Alison.
I think this is a new crew together, so fun. Yay!
New crews are fun.
Well, I'll start. I'm doing good. People who are listening, because it's a podcast, can't see, but I made gluten-free, dairy-free banana bread the other day. And I made it last night and already have it.
And it looks delicious because she was just holding it up to the camera just to taunt us.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it's pretty
That's
darn good.
yummy.
That's amazing. Well, I have been like racing around today because I went out this morning and then realised our car had a flat tyre. So I then had to change the tyre for the Space Saver one we have in the boot, which I did while my son napped, but it took like the entire time of his nap. Like I literally just washed my hands after doing it, and then he woke up, so like I've done none of the other things that I was supposed to do today, and then he was a bit upset for some reason when he woke up, so yeah, that delayed us. So I've been racing around, but I'm really glad to be able to like sit down and chill and chat about some fun stuff.
Talk about Harry Potter.
Yes.
You know what we should have done is had Alison read the first chapter of Harry
Oh,
Potter.
yeah.
Yes.
Like with her accent and everything. That would have been perfect.
I'm not sure I have a posh enough British accent for it.
Oh, no, you're great.
Yeah, I mean, you just said boot. Like, my boots. That's posh.
What do you say?
Yeah, that's funny. Maybe we'll have you read like 2 sentences and I'll just put it as a clip at the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to it. Anyway, Joanna, how are you?
Good. I just finished a really good book last night by our dear friend Valia Lind.
Oh, hey.
I finished The Scarlet Rose last night. It was
Oh, it's so
I
good.
loved it.
Yay.
It's so good.
Thanks, guys. I love when you love my books.
We love your books.
I'm so excited. I haven't read anything in like over a month. It's very terrible.
That was the first book I've read in like probably that I finished in probably like 6 months or so. Probably since we finished our tropes.
Oh, wow.
And I had to finish books. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. When it made you guys read.
Yeah. I've started lots of books. I just haven't finished them. And it's not that they're not good. It's just that I haven't had the brain for reading.
Yeah.
So.
Okay,
Or
that makes me
sometimes
feel
you just
better.
need to find the right book to match your mood. I think when you're in that kind of zone.
And that's it. The books that I'm not finished with, I like them.
They weren't the right fit.
They were, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's okay. I got you. I think I've read probably 25 books in the last, like...
I know. You're insane, and
Wow.
I love it.
I know.
Abby's reading for us all.
Exactly.
I am. Don't worry.
I'm
I
hoping
got
that
you. I
I'm
got
out.
you.
I'm hoping I'm out of this, but
Yeah, hopefully.
yeah.
Yeah, you never
Just
know.
came off a release, and I have another release coming up, and that kind of takes up all your brain space. So.
Yeah, it really does. It's funny, though, as writers, like, there's really just, like, 2 moods when you're drafting. You either read everything or you read absolutely nothing. Like, there's no in between.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's so true.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's a
And I love
thing.
that, like, I'm not the only person that goes through that, because for years I thought I was the only person. I was like, I'm a writer. I should be reading. Like, what is wrong with me? But then I realized, like, no, other writers, when they're drafting, like, it's the same thing. Like, it's one or the other.
Yeah. Yeah, and in fact, I've gone through periods where I would rather read than write, but I needed to be writing. But lately it's been I'd rather be writing than reading.
Yeah,
so.
which is awesome.
But at the same time, it's like I need to be reading.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I need to find a book that kind of gets me out of my stasis. Suspended animation.
Well, I'd give you a recommendation, but you wrote it. So,
so you maybe know it.
I probably have, No, I actually have been rereading my old books because I just finished a series and I'm in the process of finishing another series. So I had to like reread my books to make sure that I'm like finishing everything where I need to be. And I have to say, that's the weirdest experience ever, is to read your own book. If you guys are not writers, I don't know if you would understand this, but it's like, sometimes when I read my books, I'm like completely, it's like, did I write this? I don't remember writing this.
Totally.
Like,
yeah.
Like, I don't remember that detail.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And then it's that weird, this is stupid. And then the next sentence,
yeah,
oh my gosh,
exactly.
I'm a genius. I came up with that. Like, wow, I'm good.
It really
like,
is,
you
because
just
it's funny because when you're editing, right, you just read over it and over it and over it. But then when you like had a little bit of time away from it and you pick it up as like a paperback or hardcover or whatever, like an actual in your hands, and you're reading it, you're like, out of body experience. It's so weird.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm normal. Yay.
Well, as normal as writers can be.
Yes.
I don't know if any of us are
the
normal.
bar's pretty low.
The bar's pretty. I'll take it. Okay. All right. So now that we had like a total random tangent on that one, sorry guys. Let's talk about Harry Potter. Yeah.
Yes.
If you guys don't know, first of all, listeners, I am like the odd duck out because I am not a Harry Potter fan in the sense that most people are. Like, I like it, but I'm not obsessed with it, and I didn't read all the books. I have seen all the movies, so I know the story. That's a plus for me.
That doesn't count, but it's okay.
I read the first 4 books, so that was a big deal for me because I'm not a middle grade writer or reader at all, and the beginning books are middle grade. So anyway, I won't be as participant in the conversation, but I'm here to play moderator. Let's do this. I have all the questions for you guys.
I feel like you're like moderator. That sounds like we're gonna have like a Barney or a fight about something.
Probably. My last question. I'm just kidding.
Well, can I go on a tangent first of all? Because I've got like a funny story. So my husband is kind of in a similar camp to you, Valia.
Okay.
But he read Harry Potter when it very first came out, before anyone else and before it became popular. And he took the book into school for show and tell. And everyone laughed at him for bringing this book about like wizards. And they were like making fun of the book. And then of course, like a couple of years later, it was like everyone was reading it. So he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder. I don't know if you know that phrase, but so since then he basically refused to read any of the other Harry Potter books because of that.
That's so sad.
I was the first fan.
He's just really annoyed. And the thing he's most annoyed about is that he thinks that book he had might have been a first edition copy, but he can't find it anymore.
Oh, no.
So he's like searched his parents' house everywhere, but I think they must have given it away to someone. Because obviously, like, no one liked Harry Potter then.
Right.
And then it turned into this enormous thing. So that's funny.
Oh, man. You could have been rich by now. Just kidding.
Could have.
Probably not. But it would have been nice,
Yeah.
What I wanted to bring up about that, though, is that what Valia said, not being a middle grade reader, that was me, too. When these books first came out, I was older. I was a teenager. But my sister was reading them and was really into them. And so were a lot of other people. And I think I read them after 4 of the books had come out and realized, like, how awesome they are. But I feel like it has helped a lot of people, like, love to read.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's...
Yeah, I can understand that. My biggest thing with it is that I read the books when I was like 27. So that's a little different. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if I was still maybe a teenager or came into it like early, like, I mean, I've been in America since 12, but by then all the books were out. And then I didn't read anything like that during that time. Like, I didn't read fantasy a lot when I was growing up. I read a lot of Nancy Drew and then like Harlequin intrigue romances because there were 10 cents at Savers or Goodwill, you know? And I just read mysteries and thrillers like constantly as a kid, and Agatha Christie, like So weird. I was such an old old woman reading these like old books, but
I'm with you. I had a whole shelf of Agatha Christie.
Perfect.
I like Agatha
Perfect.
Christie.
But as a child, like that's not something you hear, you know. And I read a lot of classics, and I was like trying to like go through like American classics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I didn't really like Harry Potter was nowhere near when I was a kid. Like, I mean, I knew of it, but it wasn't like, oh, I want to read this. And then by the time I did get around to where I was writing and I was around a lot of people who loved it, like one of my closest friends, like she loves it so much. And I was like, okay, I'm going to read it, you know, and it's not that I didn't enjoy it, it's that I just didn't connect with it the way everybody wanted me to connect to it. You know what I mean? Because I didn't have that nostalgia for the books and stuff. And so it's just kind of like one of those things where like I try not to read hyped books because it puts that pressure on you. That's how I felt about reading Harry Potter. It's like it had all this pressure on me, like I had to like it, you know, or I wouldn't be a cool author or whatever. And so I think that like played a big part of it. And also because it was so middle grade in the beginning, like I really had to make myself read it, which it's like not saying anything bad about middle grade. Like middle grade writers are fantastic, but it's just not something that I read. Just like there's some genres I don't read right now, you know, like I don't read historical right now because it's just not what I feel like reading. And it was just like a whole thing. Why am I going on all of these tangents, you guys? Stop me.
No, but I'm interested.
No, it's good.
So I'm interested, Abby, in how old you were, or like roughly when you read them, because I was like Valia, and maybe not as old as Valia, but I held off for ages because I didn't like reading popular, like trendy books.
Okay,
I don't know, it's just that like bit of a rebel thing. So same thing. So I held off for ages, and then when I did start reading, I was like, yeah, this is okay, but I don't see what all the fuss is about. But I enjoyed them more the further I got through the series. So I think I was very much, on the fence about the first few. And that might have been because they were middle grade. And I think I was definitely an adult when I kind of read them. I think I was at university, maybe.
I was too.
Yeah.
Okay. I was too.
But then when they start getting darker later on, so when they start getting a bit darker, a bit longer, a bit more complex and emotional, that's when I really started enjoying them. So you're not alone.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just didn't make it that far. But how old were you, Abby, when you read them?
So I had a mixed upbringing with them. Okay, oh my gosh, this is so sad. So I grew up, my church background was non-denominational, but it was also super, super, super conservative. So my grandma actually sent me the first 4 books when I was young, and I read a couple of them, and I really enjoyed them. Except my church was preaching at the time, like, nothing to do with witchcraft, nothing to do with, like, anything. And so I just felt so guilty about having these books that had witchcraft in them. And so I threw them out. So... And I don't know what edition she sent to me, my grandma did, so there's part of me that's wincing hardcore about it, like wondering what's rotting in the dump someday. It was like super expensive. Anyway, so I didn't come back to Harry Potter until, I don't know, like 10 years later, and it was a sneaky comeback. Like, somebody's house we were staying at had the copy of The Order of the Phoenix, and I remember just really like being curious what happened, and so I just stayed up the whole night and like sped read through the book so I could read it before my parents found out or whatever. And so I read it really chunky and not like carefully, so I didn't really get to absorb the magic of it and like the sinking into the world. And that's kind of how I read the series. So it wasn't until probably college and after college I was actually able to sit down and soak into the world and the story. And that's when I fell in love with it. Because, I mean, I love middle grade. I write middle grade fiction. I love, like, darker tone stories. I love fantasy stuff. So it's so
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, too. I was like, you actually write middle grade, so it would be a different experience for you.
Yeah, I just love it. And so it's interesting because since I'm more familiar with the first couple books than the last couple books, I've actually haven't been rereading them or rewatching the movies. So I've actually only read the last handful of books once and watched the movies once. And I'm waiting until, okay, here's my dream, guys. Here's my dream. Because, like, I want offspring really badly, and my dream is to read all the Harry Potter books with them, send them to a long weekend at their grandparents, and then have them come home and their whole room is just like,
oh my
Hogwarts.
gosh.
I love that.
So, I'm like, I've already been like pinning like where to buy stuff, and like we don't even have kids yet. And, like, I've got this. Like I am prepared. I'm ready.
That is the cutest.
So, I want to experience it.
That's so cute.
I think that will be magical as well, like seeing the sort of magic through their eyes. So I met up with some friends of mine a few months ago, and their son is 7 or 8, and he's obsessed with Harry Potter, like literally obsessed. So we went for this walk, and he spent basically the entire walk like quizzing me on Harry Potter. And I was like, it's been years since I read the books. I can't remember all the details. And he knows like every single detail. And so he was recounting all this stuff to me, and it was so cute.
Oh, that's cute.
I love, like that magic, that little kid magic, and just having them grow up into it. I'm so excited. I'm so prepared.
So my kids are close to that age, so I've been trying to read them with them. We've only read a couple of them, but there was a fun thing that the school that my kids went to before we moved would do every year. They did a Harry Potter night where they turned the whole school into Hogwarts, and every single classroom was one of the classes. And you could do like, there were like games, and there were like potions class, and like they had all of it. And they had a green Gringotts, they had a sorting hat. It was so fun, and they did it every year.
That's fantastic.
And everyone would dress up like Harry Potter, and the whole school looked like, well, I mean, as much as like
you can,
as an elementary school can look like.
Yeah.
But
That's so cute.
I love that.
Okay, so that's gonna like segue into my first question, because it's like the first question I have to ask. And which house do you belong to, Abby?
All right, so I think I'm the only person who's pissed about being in Gryffindor. I really wanted to be in Ravenclaw, because that's where all the smart people were, and like the cool people were. And so when I did the online quiz like a couple times throughout my life, and each time it came up with Gryffindor, and I was so mad. So yeah.
Okay.
I'm a reluctant Gryffindor. There we go.
She's very bitter about it. Anyway, Alison.
I am bitter about it.
So I went on. So I did the official quiz, and I must have done that years ago, because I went on to check, and I'm down as Gryffindor, which kind of surprises me a bit. And I don't know if I was a bit naughty and was like cheating the system a bit, if you can cheat the system, because I wanted to be in Gryffindor, because I don't feel like I'm that brave. So anyway, it wouldn't let me do that test again. So I did one of the other tests. And it actually came out as Gryffindor again, but like Gryffindor and Raven, I'm really evenly matched across the 4. So it gave you like a percentage of each of them. So I was like equal Gryffindor and Ravenclaw, and then like 22% Hufflepuff and 14% Slytherin. So I feel I'm like well-rounded. So I think the sorting hat would have had a little bit of a challenge with me.
so you get to pick.
That's fair.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe.
Would you pick Gryffindor or Ravenclaw?
I honestly don't know, because I think a bit like Abby, I don't know, I think I always wanted to be Gryffindor, and I'm quite adventurous, I guess, but I also do like this kind of intellectual side of Ravenclaw, and I've always been quite kind of intellectual, so
you wouldn't know either. Awesome.
I don't know either, no. I just indecisive. That's
She
why
just
I need
changes
the
her
sorting hat to
houses.
tell me.
Yeah, there you go.
Someone else tell me who I am.
Oh my goodness, that's funny. What about you, Joanna?
So confession, I never actually took the quiz till last night.
Nice.
And I used to tell everyone that I
Ooh.
was in Ravenclaw. I'm not. I'm Hufflepuff.
I can see
Hufflepuff.
that.
Yeah.
But I can see
I married a Hufflepuff.
Nice.
They're awesome.
That's so cute. I
I
did
was
take the
surprised.
test, actually. You were?
Oh, you
I
did?
did take the test. And it was really funny, because the first time I took the test, I was Slytherin.
I can see that. I can see that.
Thanks, guys. No, but the last time I took it, I was Ravenclaw. So I mean, like, I feel like between Slytherin and Ravenclaw, I'll be okay with that, from what I know about the houses. Because you know how like they give you like the breakdown of who they are. I'm like, yeah, I'll take both. We're good. Anyway, that's my little participation in this conversation. Okay, so now we're gonna have a very set question that I have to ask, because people like make videos about this. They had like Tumblr posts back in the day when Tumblr was like a thing. But which death in the series is the most heartbreaking to you? Abby.
All right, way to drop the tone.
We're going up and down here.
All right, so again, I have a slightly not awkward, sideways story about this. So because I wasn't reading the books at the time, when the book, which one did Dumbledore die in? Was it 6?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 6. Yeah, so that was coming out, and there was this huge line at our local Barnes & Noble. It like wrapped all the way around the store, filled up the parking lot, yada yada. And some jerk, I was going to say another word, jerk, decided to drive by in his pickup truck and yell to everybody, Dumbledore dies in this one. And so, everybody was pissed. And then this is where it gets great. The stupid newspaper printed up the article about it the next day with the headline like Dumbledore dies, and you're going, are you kidding me? So I saw that article. I wasn't sure if it was true or not, because I was like, well, maybe they were just being jerks about it and like trying to lie and rally everybody up. So I had a suspicion that would happen, but I also wasn't quite sure. So when the moment came, it didn't hit me as hard as it could have. So I think the one that hit me the most was when the Weasley twin died.
Okay.
So yeah. And I didn't know that until I watched the Harry Potter special and I saw that both of the actors side by side, and there was a part of my heart that just like split open with happiness. It was like, they're still together, they're still alive. And I was like, wait a second. Of course the actor's still alive.
They didn't
but
actually kill the actor.
Yeah.
I know. I just seeing them together, I don't know. It's like, oh my gosh, it's okay. Everything's going to be okay.
Aww.
So
you little softie. Okay, anyway, Alison.
I know.
So mine was definitely Dobby.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I feel like, I think followed by Fred Weasley. So that is the second one. But I think there was like an emotional resonance to not only how he died, but the moment when Harry buries him and he chooses to like dig the grave rather than using magic to do it, and that whole scene where they kind of lay to rest, it reminds me a bit of like the Hunger Games and the scene with the flowers and Rue, when Katniss does that, and those type of like death or funeral scenes always, like, I love them. That sounds awful, I know, but they like always like give me all the feels basically.
Yeah.
So, and I think it was just also because he was like so self-sacrificing, and because he's that like happy little character who you think is kind of going to be there throughout and you want him there. I expected Dumbledore to die. Like, I thought he was going to die, and and in the final battle I thought there would be someone who died. But I think Dobby's death really, that tugged at my heartstrings a bit.
Oh.
Well, it's like killing a pet.
It's like killing the dog.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Joanna.
So I'll bring it down. Well, my answers are similar to these two. Because I felt like Dumbledore was going to die, so that one wasn't a huge shock. And Dobby's death was hard. But I think it was the Weasley twin that was the hardest, because those two were just such a awesome duo. I read this funny saw it was like soon after the movies had come out, kind of a funny thing about a death.
Funny thing about death.
Funny thing about death. No, when they were filming that scene, or when they were filming after he had died and he was like laying there dead in the final scenes, it took so long for them to like film all of that he fell asleep. The twin that had died.
That's cute. So since I'm not like attached to any, like I didn't read the books, so obviously my experience is like literally just from the movies. But I have to say that when his little owl died, Hedwig, when he got like, every single time I've seen that in the movie, I gasp. I don't know why. I was like, why? I don't understand. Speaking about pets dying.
I know, that like really is
just
killing the...
Yeah, but it was really funny, like a side note. Okay, you guys, tell me to stop talking. But I watch Dylan is in Trouble, right? Like, you guys know I love his videos and stuff. And so he did a rewatch of Harry Potter. And when he first started his channel, he did it. He watched the Harry Potter movies for the first time. And then like last year, I think it was, he redid the watch. But it was really funny because apparently a lot of people got mad at him in the first video because he made a joke after Sirius dies. And he was like, I didn't know he died. I thought he just like went into the mist and he was gonna come back and be like, woohoo, final battle, I'm here to take care of stuff, you know, whatever. So then like when he watched it again, he was just like, I'm sorry, you guys, like I didn't know you died. But I was thinking about that, like when I watched it, I think I was kind of like, I didn't think he died either, you know what I mean? So it's interesting for people who have read the books, who have that like extra experience, because like even with the Dobby scene, like I don't remember him burying him in the movies. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they had like a moment where he like holds him in his hand, like whatever, and then it's like he's buried. Like, I don't remember him like digging the grave. If he did, that's my bad. Sorry. But like, I feel like people who have read the books would have like such a different experience with every single death and like scene because they had like all this background stuff. So I don't know why I just went on that tangent, but I just thought it was interesting, like just from an outsider point of view. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I had to say for that. Okay, so that was our saddest moment out of the whole podcast. Feel your feels, get them out,
dry your tears.
We're back. No, I want to know which book in the series is your favorite. So Abby, you'll go. Tell me.
I think I had a soft spot for The Prisoner of Azkaban, and some of it is because I think that's where I stopped reading the first time around when I was a kid. And, you know, before I got guilt tripped into pitching out my copies. But it's like the last stop before things get darker and things take a turn. And it's, I don't know, you get all the fun moments of Hogwarts, like Hogsmeade and like the magic of Hogwarts before, you know, Umbridge comes in and changes everything. So you can really experience it. But there's also another plot that's, you know, definitely pointing to something bigger behind the scenes. And I don't know, I just love the way they kind of fold together into that. And yeah, that's my favorite.
Nice. Alison?
So I think mine is the Deathly Hallows, so the final one. So normally my favorite book in a series is normally either the first book or the last book. And because, as we said, I sort of it took me a few books to kind of get into the series. So I think I love that kind of the epic battle, the mystery of how he's going to solve the problem, because it's kind of like I guessed what the issue was with the Horcruxes and stuff. But I wasn't sure how, and I kind of knew, you know, I knew Harry wasn't going to die because, you know, she would have been like absolutely slated for finishing the series if he died. But I didn't know how it was going to work out until near the end. So I wanted that mystery to be solved and I love all that kind of wrap up and resolution things and the final bit. So I love that one. I also have a soft spot for Goblet of Fire. So I think that was the one when I first started really enjoying them. I think because of the dragons and the competition and because you have the different witches and wizards from like different countries coming in. So I really enjoyed that. And I have, just based on our previous question, just realised that like, when I really started to enjoy the books was when characters started dying. I'm not sure what that is. Like, no one dies in the first few books, right? And then you have like Sirius and Dumbledore and yeah.
Okay.
Well, the first death is in the Goblet of Fire when Cedric dies.
Oh yeah. So you have Cedric, and then Sirius, yeah. And then it's like a death a book.
Yeah.
Until the end.
Until the end.
That's fun. Joanna?
It's hard to pick a favorite. I think my favorite like storyline, I think it's in The Prisoner of Azkaban with the time turner thing.
Okay.
Hermione has.
You mean time traveling? Oh, okay.
Yeah, time travel. Yeah. Imagine that. But I really like the Deathly Hallows book too, and probably because it has some personal memories attached to it. Because before that book had come out, I'd finally become a fan of the series, and so I was looking forward to the final book. And my husband worked security at the local mall, and the Barnes and Noble they were going to be on sale at midnight, and he was there, and he got me a copy.
Aww.
And then we went to Hawaii shortly after, and I remember just sitting on the beach reading the Deathly Hallows. So
that's cute.
that's
I love that.
Yeah, it's more of a personal reason why I like it. So.
Which, I mean, sometimes that's what books are. Like, it's not that it's even like the best book ever. It's just because you have so much like emotion attached to it.
So when I see that book on my shelf, I'm like, that's the book that my husband got for me and that I sat on the beach reading, and
that's cute.
One of my favorite things to do. So
my favorite movie, since I didn't read all the books,
there you go,
is The Goblet of Fire, and it's because of the competition and the dragons and like all of the scene, all the different worlds and stuff like that. Like I thought that was the best, and I did read that book. That was the last book that I read. So that's book 4, right? So I made it through. So I made it through the first 4 books, and I really loved that one. And I thought that one is the book that was gonna like get me to read all of them, and I would have if I just like didn't have other stuff that happened, I think. And then there was just like too much break in between that I'm like, it's okay. Like, I think.
Do you think you'll ever go back and read them, or like finish the series?
I think I will, just because I like having like a full opinion on something.
I feel like you need an occasion when you can like binge read it, or like you go away for the weekend or something, and are like, right, this weekend I'm gonna binge read the whole series.
I definitely don't think it can be something that I just like do randomly. Like it has to be like one and done for me to actually finish it. But which is what I tried like a couple of years ago. I tried to do that. Is like I was like, okay, I'm just gonna read one book a month. Like I'm gonna read one Harry Potter book a month and just finish it by the end of the year. And I made it through 4. Anyway,
I think you'd enjoy the last ones.
Yeah, and that's the thing
because
too.
Because the tone changes and they get more grown up and yeah,
I just need to get there.
You need to set up, this is what we did for my dad as we were getting him to read it. You need to set up a special Harry Potter chair. And it's like decorated with like a cute pillow and twinkle lights around the armrests and stuff. And every time you read it, you got to sit in that chair and have a special little like Hogwarts themed snack. Or like make your own butterbeer or something. And so it's like an occasion, like a special thing every time.
You are so cute. I think something.
The other thing is the audiobooks are really good. So I have listened to the audiobooks as well as reading the books. And I mean, they're great for like long car journeys and stuff. And I was actually having a clear out a couple of days ago and found like in CD format all of the Goblet of Fire.
No way.
Yeah, the Goblet of Fire.
That's awesome.
And actually, I met up with a friend of mine the other day, and she was breaking on a long journey, and she was listening to Harry Potter 3. So I messaged her saying, "I have the Goblet of Fire on CD. Do you want it?" And she's like, "Yes." Wait, give it to me next time you see me.
I love that.
Yeah.
Maybe I should
They
try
are,
them
the
in
audiobooks are really good. I think it's Stephen Fry who narrates them, and he's really good.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's what I'll do, because I feel like for something like that, I think I would be better with an audiobook. Anyway,
so can I just add something funny about the audiobooks? So my cousin just got a dog over Thanksgiving, and we saw him over Christmas, and she was telling me that the way that they get their dog to go to sleep at night is to play the Harry Potter audiobooks.
Oh my goodness.
And there was one night
that
her husband like put on some like talk radio show or something, and the poor dog was like whining all night because it wasn't Harry Potter. So yeah.
That's adorable.
Their dog is a fan of Harry Potter.
That's so cute. Is the dog's name something from Harry Potter? Because that would have been cool.
No, that would be cool.
Yeah.
But no.
Oh my goodness, that's adorable. Okay, so let's talk about the reunion special, right? So what is it, 20 years, right?
20 years.
20 years.
Yeah, so did all of you guys watch it, or?
No.
Yeah.
I haven't, so I can't really contribute to this conversation because it was on, I think it was on like Sky in the UK or something.
You don't have
anyway,
it.
like a premium subscription channel, which we don't have access to. So
okay, so Abby and Joanna have seen it, right?
But you can spoil it.
Yeah.
So
I hacked into my sister's account.
Awesome.
So
Yeah,
we're good.
I hacked into my
legally,
brother's.
they're doing this legally.
Yes, with permission.
I have no family members with Sky accounts to hack into.
I mean, I could have watched it. We have the account. I just didn't. But let's talk about that. So that was obviously a big deal for a lot of people. I mean, it was a big deal for the actors to come back.
Yeah.
And just like talk about
a lot
that.
of them did come back.
Yeah.
Did they look really old?
Yeah,
Yeah.
some of them were.
I mean, it's been 20 years.
I mean, it's been,
I know.
Gosh.
I did see a quote from, I think from the special, and it was about Hagrid. How do you say that?
Hagrid.
Thank you.
Hagrid.
Thank you. And he was saying how, like, one day I'll be gone, but Hagrid will still be here.
Yes.
And I was just like, oh my goodness, like, I'm getting emotional. Like, what? Just by like reading that quote. But anyway,
he got so attached to those actors too that you could tell that they still all kind of see him as a father figure or an uncle figure.
yeah.
That they had scenes where you just saw Emma and him sitting down just chatting, and you could tell that they just have this bond from working on those films for so long.
Yeah. I mean, those kids grew up in those movies.
Oh yeah,
They did.
That's I don't know. I don't think I don't know other actors that really had that kind of experience, really, where
Oh, you're right.
Because usually a movie is like a one and done. But yeah, they were all, 11 or
And it was year
10 or
after. I think
11?
they filmed it like one a year, didn't they? So they did great.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking because Stranger Things was a bit like that, but then obviously there's been years. I don't even know where the latest season is, so it's kind of gone a bit off the rails. But yeah, I don't think there's another kind of long series like that where they've been so regular about filming them.
Yeah, you saw them grow up in front of your eyes, in Hogwarts,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, and Daniel Radcliffe, he talked about, he's kind of an awkward teenager in the 5th movie, The Order of the Phoenix, and he's like, that was me. That was me being all awkward and not knowing how to talk to girls, and they said it was just
hormones flying.
Exactly. They talked about how it was just as a regular teenage class where people are dating each other and hormones are high and everyone's awkward and
yeah, I don't know, that's for me. I always think about actors like that, it's always so incredible to think of it from their point of view and stuff. So it was cool that they could do the special and kind of reunite in that world, even though they didn't film another movie, but still but Joanna, you mentioned something earlier before we started recording, the impact that Harry Potter has had, on you personally, but also on the reading world and everything. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, there's just so many people that I know of personally, and you could see through this special too, that kids that wouldn't normally be into reading, it was Harry Potter that got them into reading. And it's so universal too, I didn't read middle grade books and I still don't read them a lot, but I think that this probably, I think it bonded families and communities and things like that because everyone was into it, and everyone, you could ask someone, you drive around and you see bumper stickers and it has some quote from the movie, or I solemnly swear I'm up to no good, and you know exactly what that means or where that's coming from, and you can see it everywhere.
Yeah, and I think also because it's been around so long, and it makes me feel really old now, but the people who loved it whenever they read it have now had children who are now old enough to read it, so it's on its second generation, isn't it? So it is a whole family experience, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. It is pretty incredible.
People like Abby that's already planning.
Yeah.
I know, right? My epic
and I'm
plan.
sure she's not the only one.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, you see Instagram posts and Pinterest, you've been pinning stuff, that has to come from from people doing this, and stuff like that. No, that's really cool. Did you guys have a favorite part of the reunion that stood out to you?
There were a couple things. So the actor who plays Draco's dad, you know how strict and kind of mean he is. He was he's this teddy bear type person.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he really was.
He was kind of like another father figure for Tom Felton, who played Draco. And he said it was kind of strange because the cameras would go on and he was a stern, mean dad, and then the cameras would go off and he'd be like, Tom, are you okay? I didn't mean to there was one scene where and I think they had cut it from the movies, but they had walked into somewhere and Draco touched something, and I can't remember the actor's name. He hit his hand to like, don't touch that.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually like hurt his hand. And so like the tears were real and all this stuff. And so afterwards he like gave him a hug. He's like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. And he's like, it's okay. It was for the scene.
And then they cut it from the movie.
And then they cut it from the movie.
Yeah, right.
Oh, what about you, Abby? Did you have anything that like stood out to you?
Yeah, I think the thing that stood out most was the feeling. Like I just sat there and I had this huge grin on my face the entire time. Like my cheeks were hurting. Oh my gosh. Like I just felt magical and just sitting there soaking in like, and I love behind the scenes stuff. I'm just a junkie for all that thing. Like production, all that. And so getting glimpses of how the relationships were, I don't know, it just fed my soul. And just as a writer, it made me want to write and just create a world for people to sink into. And I mean, granted, you're only going to have one Harry Potter in the existence of like, I was going to say humanity, but I mean, if we're around for another 1,000 years, maybe, okay, whatever. You get my point.
Abby and her sci-fi.
I know. I was like, okay, how? My mind jumped into time. Like, okay, anyway. So it just, I don't know. It just made me want to go back to the middle grade stuff I'm working on and just throw myself into it and balloon it to life and sit in that magic. And I just felt so stupid happy. And I don't know. It was just such a light, bubbly feeling. And there wasn't a specific line or anything like that stood out. It was just that happy, magical feeling. And I just wanted to soak in it like a bath the whole rest of the day. It was beautiful.
Oh, that's
Amen.
cool. Joanna's like, that's all I got too.
Yep.
No, that's really cool. It's like, it's really cool that they like went back and actually did that, for the fans, but also for the actors and just like for that second generation, because that's something cool for new people that, are getting introduced to Harry Potter to watch too, and I would just watch it because I'm like, I love behind the scenes stuff too. So like,
Yeah.
But especially since it's such a massive world and the movies were just so big and everything. My dad actually watched the movies for the first time, like at the end of last year. And I was very surprised because he's like not a Harry Potter fan at all. And he just like, he enjoyed them. He went through all of them. And I think that's like, a testament to the story, I guess, because it's really, that's what it's about, and it's like, even the movies, because, we always like the books are better. It's like, obviously the books are better because there's just so much more of it. But the fact that even the movies show that magical world and stuff,
well, they're just different,
right? And I think a lot of it is because of like the actors too, of the way they grew up together and the way like their relationships and stuff like that brought that like realness to the world. And because like everything I've ever seen about them, like behind the scenes and whatever, that's how it's always been. So it's like, it's cool. I don't know, it's cool.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, and you asked what our favorite books were, and one of the reasons I had a hard time thinking about that is because I love the whole thing as a whole, like the whole progression of it, the whole story of it, the whole message of the entire thing.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, I have a question. So, do you think that they'll ever try to remake the movies?
I hope not.
I hope not.
That's like one of my pet peeves when it comes to movies, because there's just like solid, like I never want them to remake Lord of the Rings. Like I don't.
Yeah,
like
same,
don't touch it.
same.
You know what I mean? Like I don't.
But they're doing the TV show.
Okay, but it's different because it's a different time in the world. It's not the same actor or it's not the same whatever. So I'm like, I'm okay with that. But like that, like Harry Potter, even as an outsider fan, like I don't want them to touch that. I don't want the Marvel movies to be remade. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's some movies that are like, don't touch it. like I will come at you.
You need that staff, Lucius Malfoy, like smack Draco with. Like, don't touch.
I don't think it would work to remake it with, because I think the actors who play those characters are so like, that's so embedded in terms of that is what it is, and that is who you associate with those parts, that if they then change and there's different people, I don't know how they can make it much better, I guess.
It would have
and
to
therefore,
be like 50
what is
years.
the point in doing it?
Yeah.
Unless
we
like
have to
50
be,
years,
50
it's like
years and then
virtual
try again.
reality, maybe.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of that, Cursed Child, right? That was like a new installment into the Harry Potter world. Did you guys read that?
I did. Oh, none of you guys did?
I didn't.
Just
Okay.
you, the
I'll
super
talk about
fan.
it.
I don't think I want to either.
Oh, I enjoyed it. Obviously, like, it's a different format than the books.
Mm-hmm.
It's a script. It's a bound up script. And so it felt more like an addendum rather than this is the official, epilogue of the 7-book series. It just felt more like, oh, here's what would happen if it continued. And I liked that. And I'm just really fascinated by scripts to begin with, and just how you can bring to life the world in a completely different way, and just the stage stuff. I don't know. I loved it. So I do have a funny story about it, though. Okay, so my local indie bookstore was putting on a big celebration when The Cursed Child came out, and so they turned their bookstore into Hogwarts. So they had a Gringa section, like you can go up to the, bar thing and get butterbeer, and they had a sorting hat station, so you come in, you put on the hat, and they like spun a dial and you got assigned your house. And so then you got to wear a tie according to your house.
That's cute.
And everyone was in costume. So, oh my gosh, my husband is a Hufflepuff, but he's not the anti-nerd. He just didn't grow up with fandom.
Okay.
And so the whole idea of cosplay or costumes, it's so foreign to him, and he can't get over it. And so I dragged him with me, and he legit broke out in hives.
Oh no.
From seeing like adult men in costume. Like he
Oh my goodness.
He could not handle it. So I was walking around and I looked over and he's like scratching himself. And I was like, babe, what's wrong? And you lifted up his sleeve and showed me he had hives. He's like, I can't be in here. There's just too many costumes and I don't even know who that person is. And I just can't do it. So I was like, okay, you go stand outside and you go stand in the fresh air and then give me like 10 minutes to walk around the store and then we can go. And so I oh my gosh. And then outside, this guy as a Hagrid was trying to talk to him. He's like almost shaking. Oh, I really want to take him to a Comic-Con just to see what happens.
Oh my goodness, bring cream or something. When
I know, right?
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's so funny because I love fandoms. They make me happy. I love dressing up. I love all that, and he had no experience with it until we got married, and then it was just what I dragged him to, and so. I don't know, it cracks me up. He's so awkward.
So funny.
I think my husband would be the same. I think he'd hate it.
Oh my goodness, that's funny. It's interesting that you really loved the format of The Cursed Child, because that's the one that I always hear. I'm like, it's like a script, like blah blah. It's like so different. It didn't give me the same feels as the rest of it. But
and I think that's why I don't want to read it. That's why I wouldn't read it, because I think I wouldn't have the same experience as the books gave me, and it might kind of, I don't know, it probably wouldn't, but I feel like it might taint that experience. It's almost like I finished on a high. That's it.
Yeah.
It's good. Leave it where it is.
See, that's why I liked it, though, because it wasn't trying to be part of the original series.
Okay.
It was just something different. And so I never thought it was trying to pretend to be something other than it was. It's just like an additional story in the universe. They're like the main characters, Harry, Ron, Hermione, whatever, they're adults.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a different type of magic when you're an adult. And so I don't know, I felt the script format just really played into that well.
That's cool. I think I would have a hard time. I have a hard time going back to series that time jump into like adult or whatever, and then try to like tell me what happens at the end of a book series. You know what I mean? Like I like ending a book series and just this is what I think is going to happen. Like, this is the ending and then like whatever. But then if somebody goes and writes me a book 5 years later, I'm like, well, but I don't want to know that. Like, okay, so when I read The Mortal Instruments, the original trilogy, I really enjoyed them, and this was like before the hype happened. And then when the fourth book came out, I had absolutely no desire to read it because I was like, no, like where the original trilogy ended, like I'm happy with that because I can make up what happens next without you ruining it for me. And so like I never read any of the other books after that because I was like, no, I was satisfied of where it was. So that's why it's like interesting to me that The Cursed Child is like, it's one or the other for people, right? It's like people who like you who like loved it, and then other people who are like, no, like I wanted to have my own ideas and whatever. So once again, books are so subjective. Like
they are though.
So anyway, that's cool. Okay, so here's my controversial question for all of you to debate over. No, I don't know. But this is mostly based on the movies, right? Because I feel like in the movies, I have a lot of thoughts about this relationship, but did anybody ship Harry and Hermione?
So I did a bit initially, and I'm talking from the books, not the movies, probably. I can't even remember how it was portrayed in the movies. I think I just assumed, like from the books, I think I just assumed that they were going to get together. So I kind of had that in my head. But I do like that Ron and Hermione ended up together, even though it does feel like a bit of a weird pairing, like a definite like opposites attract. Which is
fine.
I don't know. I feel like Ron would just drive Hermione mad.
Yeah, I do too. But anyway, what about you, Abby?
Same. Like I think I would have been mad if they got together, even though in my head I paired them together, just because the main character always gets like the one girl in the friend group.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's just how it is. So I liked that it was different. But I actually, okay, this is going to sound bad, but I actually liked Draco and Hermione.
You and a lot of people on TikTok right now.
Yeah. And like, but I know he bullied her, so then I'm like, I don't like the whole bully romance thing. That's like icky to me. So if he, I don't know, give it like 15 years, he turned a new leaf, he like redid his life, he's out of the control of his parents, and then he and Hermione can get together, and I'm okay.
Okay. What about you, Joanna?
Not really. I mean, maybe in passing, just like the other two said.
It's funny because
assumed.
In the movies, there was so much more chemistry between Harry and Hermione for me. And there's scenes and everything that it was really hard for me for when Ron and Hermione got together. I was like, what? And then also he had no chemistry with Ginny. And I was like,
that's the one I'm mad about. That's the one I'm mad about.
So I guess it's not as a controversial question as I thought it would be.
No.
Which makes me kind of happy that as an outsider, I'm like, okay, like I saw things correctly. But it is true though. You usually have like a friend group, like the main character gets with the main girl. But I just, in the movies, it's just like they just have so much chemistry. It's so hard to get away from that.
You're right. I remember thinking it more in the movies. But because they started when they were so young, it was something that the directors or casting people could never have
predicted.
Because the actress who played Ginny, she was so young, like you wouldn't know if they wouldn't have chemistry when they're older. And I think they all kind of saw each other as siblings anyway, and so I think that was part of it.
Well, except Emma, right? Because I know she had a crush on Tom. I did hear about that.
That was cute.
I was like, when they came out with the trailer for the reunion, the TikTok exploded. It's like our, Dramini moments.
Yep.
Like that hug was for us, kind of thing. Because you are not the only one, Abby, that like ships those two together. Pretty sure there's like Wattpad fanfic on that.
Probably.
I'm sure. I am so sure.
Yeah, which I kind of like would have liked that better than Ron, honestly, because like there was just more how would I say this, like he could handle her better and she could handle him better. Like they would have been more on the same page versus like if I was Hermione, I probably would have just murdered Ron. Like there's no way.
Or walked all over him. Whereas I think they would have challenged each other more.
Yes, there you go. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, so, and I feel like that's what Harry needed too, and like he did not get that with Ginny, like in the movies. I'm talking movies, obviously, I didn't read the books.
But I don't think he did in the book either. Like I don't feel that. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like she was included in the books quite late. Like obviously she was there, but in terms of that sort of,
Being a part of the group.
Yeah, and having enough of a role that you kind of noticed her, or enough of a like interaction with Harry to see their relationship grow and develop over the years.
Makes sense.
Like they just, there wasn't enough of that.
Speaking of Dylan is in trouble again, he was like, if he had to get with Weasley, he could have gotten with Ron. They had more chemistry than him and Ginny. Like, which is, I mean, you know, they spend more time together. Like, that's understandable. I just feel like there was just nothing. I don't know. That was something that was very disappointing for me in the movies, because I felt like some of the relationships just could have been handled a little bit differently, you know what I mean? But that's just like me being picky because I like certain things a certain way. Anyway, any other thoughts on this? I felt like that was a very good discussion. A little sad, a little happy, all the feels in between.
It's been a nice trip down memory lane.
Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad we got to have this conversation, and like it fit really nicely with the reunion. You know, pushed us into this. Yeah, but dear listeners, I do want to know what your favorite Harry Potter book is, because I'm very curious about that all the time. Especially
in your house.
In your house.
I want to hear from some Hufflepuffs out there.
And some Slytherins.
Find your people.
I know, we need some Slytherin rep.
It's true. We do. Okay, that's all I have to say. Anyway. Yeah, I think we'll wrap it up here. Make sure to give us a follow on @ReadingQueensPod on Instagram and come interact with us there. Also, before you go, please give us a follow on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a star rating or a review. Either help. And tell your friends, your family, your other Harry Potter fans, or not fans. I don't know. Like, I was here, you know. I'm an outsider fan, and I enjoyed this. So tell everybody, okay? And yeah.
Gotta tell everybody.
There you go.
Sorry, I just broke it into
Abby, Abby got this. Sing us out. No, okay. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.